Hello, dear friends. If we are more attached to the world around us, we suffer more. If we are less attached to the world, we suffer less. Said Poet Dog. Opinion piece. The Soul Mafia. Non-conformity. Critical moment. Rebel generation. Beyond the mind. Current parallels. Search for meaning. Similar to Generation Theta. Let's start. A mafia is defined as an organized group that tries to defend its interest without too many scruples. For Osho, the Soul Mafia would be an alliance between priests and politicians that controls and exploits people's consciousness through fear, guilt, and blind obedience. It doesn't refer only to specific individuals, but to a system of spiritual and political power that manipulates human beings from within. This approach appears in his book Priests and Politicians, the Soul Mafia, where he answers questions about politics, religion, and the self-destruction of humankind. The text combines critiques of institutions and invites us to question our upbringing and examine how we have been indoctrinated and manipulated since childhood. He reveals that we have internalized and adopted as our own the values and belief systems of those in power, curtailing our freedom and our worldview. However, the possibility of a new world exists if we understand how the role of the controllers has functioned, take responsibility, and have the courage to become a new kind of human being. Definition. Osho calls the religious and political structures that promise salvation or security in exchange for submission and the surrender of one's own intelligence, the Soul Mafia. He believes this mafia appropriates the inner lives of human beings. It dictates what to think, what to desire, and how to live, blocking inner freedom and the direct search for truth. According to Osho, priests and politicians are in conspiracy. The politician offers power and protection to the clergy, and the priest spiritually legitimates the politician. Together, they keep the masses frightened and dependent. Both feed on guilt, on the fear of hell, of the enemy, and of chaos, because it is easier to govern a frightened population, and a population that is more willing to surrender its power. This mafia acts upon the soul by preventing each person from trusting their own experience, their own conscience, and their capacity for awakening. Instead, it pushes them to follow external authorities. For Osho, freeing oneself from the Soul Mafia involves seeing this mechanism, abandoning fear, and returning to a direct spirituality based on meditation and responsibility. Teachings. Osho loved to adopt an eccentric demeanor that seemed contrary to the traditional image of enlightened beings. His early lectures were famous for their humor and refusal to take anything seriously. This kind of behavior was a transformative technique to propel people beyond the mind. Osho proposed creating a new human being who combined the spirituality of a Gautama Buddha with the zest for life embodied by Zorba the Greek. They should be as precise and objective as a scientist, as sensitive and full of heart as a poet, and as deeply rooted in their being as a mystic. This is why the final stage of this meditation consists of dancing and celebration. In his view, the mind's attachment to the past deprives human beings of the ability to live in the present, causing them to repress authentic emotions and isolate themselves from the joyful experiences that arise naturally from embracing the present moment. The mind has no capacity for joy. It only thinks about joy. The result is that people are poisoned with all sorts of neuroses, jealousies, and insecurities. The sociologist Lewis Carter saw his ideas as rooted in the monistic philosophical system of Hindu Advaita Vedanta, where everything is sacred. His belief in the unity of opposites is reminiscent of Heraclitus, while his description of human beings condemned to act out unconscious neurotic patterns has much in common with Freud and Gurdjieff. His vision of the new human being who transcends the constraints of convention recalls Nietzsche's Beyond Good and Evil, and his dynamic meditation owe a debt to Wilhelm Reich. Rebel Generation. The rebel generation of the 60s and 70s was a movement that rejected established norms to promote a new way of life based on freedom, equality, peace, and creativity, leaving a profound mark on modern Western culture. I am honored to belong to that generation that changed my life. This movement challenged traditional social, political, and cultural norms. That generation sought to eliminate the old customs that maintained a system of social control and promoted individual freedom, artistic expression, and protest against war. The counterculture was expressed in visible changes such as psychedelic fashion, rock music, the use of entheogens, and a more communal lifestyle. It was a movement that rejected blind adherence to authority and defended freedom of speech freedom and personal responsibility. It was a cultural revolution that transformed music, fashion, literature, and the visual arts, introducing new values of peace and freedom. Its legacy endures today in the search for alternatives to the system and in the inspiration for more compassionate ways of life. Influences. The rebel generation was characterized by the influence of outer planets such as Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. These celestial bodies fostered a spirit of change, revolution, and the pursuit of individual and social freedom. They represent a bridge between the radical rupture of Uranus and the yearning for harmony and transcendence of Neptune, along with the regenerative and disruptive power of Pluto. In the birth chart of this generation, Uranus symbolizes innovation, rebellion against outdated structures, and the demand for intellectual and social freedom. During the 60s and 70s, Uranus transited signs such as Leo, Virgo, and Libra, creating a weather of questioning authority and the search for new ways of life and thought. Neptune in Libra, during this period, contributed a strong idealism centered on justice, equality, and universal law, influencing the pacifist and the spiritual movements that characterized the counterculture. Pluto in Leo, on the other hand, emphasized self-expression and personal power, creating a generation with a strong need to assert itself through radical change, creativity, and also confrontation with established power structure. This generation was highly idealistic and revolutionary, with a strong tendency to challenge established traditions and structures, seeking profound transformation both socially and personally. Similarities. Both the rebel generation and the current generation Zeta are heavily influenced by Uranus, the planet of innovation and social change. The rebel generation experienced Uranus in Leo and Virgo, while Generation Zeta has Uranus in Aquarius and Pisces, which also endows them with a revolutionary spirit, albeit with an emphasis on technology and spirituality. This generates, in both generations, a tendency to seek freedom and challenge established norms, but in different contexts and ways. Neptune is also present in both generations, marking an inclination toward idealism, spirituality, and social awareness. The rebel generation had Neptune in Libra, linked to social justice, while Generation Theta has Neptune in Capricorn and Aquarius, highlighting idealism in digital communities. In conclusion, both generations share a spirit of change and questioning of structures through the influence of Uranus and Neptune, but the rebel generation was more focused on personal expression and fighting against traditional systems, while Generation Theta faces a technological transformation that redefines social structure and collective values in a digitized world. Current situation. The current astrological situation retains the renewing impulse of past generations, but with a focus more oriented toward reconstruction and spirituality adapted to a quantum world. This creates a bridge between the rebel legacy and the contemporary challenges faced by Generation Theta and subsequent generations. Today, Uranus continues to stand out as a planet of change and innovation and remains in Taurus, a sign associated with the material and the stable, which creates a tension between the need for transformation inherited from previous generations and the desire for stability and security in the tangible. This can be seen as a continuation of the rebellious spirit, but now with an emphasis on redefining material values and natural resources. Generation Theta is influencing a renewed interest in astrology as a tool for self-knowledge and personalized spirituality, in contrast to traditional religions, following the idealistic and introspective legacy of Neptune that characterized its predecessor generations. This search for meaning is a response to the current uncertainty. Reset news. Cash Patel claims that the documents to be burnt at FBI headquarters will be made public. The world entered a new system on December 1st, according to Ariel. The BRICS Alliance has launched the Quantum Financial System, initiating an unprecedented global financial transformation and creating the largest liquidity engine in history. JFK Jr.'s office. At midnight Zulu time, the 8-tone activation sequences of the EBS will be triggered on all frequencies known to humankind. All screens on Earth will go black for 8 perfect seconds. Then the truth will strike like a tidal wave of pure light. The storm didn't arrive, it became the dawn. Welcome to the first day of the rest of humanity's life. According to Bendler-Ruscha, all global debt denominated in fiat currency will be declared unenforceable and cancelled by decree. A multilateral agreement will fix the official price of gold at $25,000 per troy ounce. Old banknotes will be declared null and void and exchanged for new ones. All citizens will start from the same gold-backed base. No currency will be stronger or weaker than another one. The switch has already been flipped. The world not only survives but is updated with weight and satellite truth. The next phase is financial transparency. As the old banking system collapses and the new quantum system emerges, all stolen resources and hidden transactions will be exposed. For the first time in generations, power is shifting toward a structure built to rebuild rather than conceal. The fall of the old order is not disorder but correction, and that correction is only just beginning. Economy. Silver reaches an all-time high due to supply shortages. Gold regains its status as the most favored non-fiat asset. Gold nears an all-time high as stocks and cryptocurrencies fall. Gold and silver rise amid cryptocurrency sell-off. Global markets fall amid risk aversion. Stocks decline and cryptocurrencies plummet in a volatile December. Russia's natural resources are twice as available as the US. Iran seizes another oil tanker in the Strait of Hormuz for full smuggling. China issues a rare warning about bubble formation in humanoid robots. Eurozone inflation nears 2%. France launches a new military service to counter the alleged Russian threat. France and the UK insist on sending troops to Ukraine to sabotage the peace plan. Americas. The US plans to keep troops in the Caribbean until 2028. Trump rejects Maduro's amnesty request in a phone call. Mexico sets its sights on the mining sector. Mexico's tourism sector grows by 1.8%, reaching 4.9 million jobs in the third quarter of 2025. Fuel shortages and technological obsolescence exacerbate the energy crisis in Cuba. Uruguay will search for oil on the seabed. Argentina is experiencing an economic rebound that isn't reaching industry or the people. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.